God, why? Alright, all you snowboarders of the internet. Today you're going to learn how to pack a snowboard bag. I know, thrilling, right? Let's dive into this. Alright, so first things first, we want to make sure the bag is empty, right? And preferably you bought a board bag with wheels. You'll thank me for this later when you're trudging through an airport and it's heavy and you hate your life and you're trying to find a dolly. This makes all the difference in the world. Also, you want to make sure that there's the internal harness straps that hold the board down. First things first, always start with your longest board on the bottom or your longest and widest board. Make sure that you pull the straps out of the way, so that way when you put it in there, you're going to be able to get them in and tight. Now, if you have an ICS board, make sure that you take out the inserts from the actual board, especially if it's going to be on the bottom. You don't need that rubbing into the base of the board that you're putting on top of it. It's just one of these things that it can cause problems. You don't want to do that. After you get your first board in, you want to get your second board in, preferably one that is shorter in length, and you just put that in on top of it. After that, your third board. I don't know why you're packing 3 boards, but maybe you're that guy. I one time flew out of Reno with 9 snowboards in a board bag. Why? Because I can. Anyways, after you get those boards in there and they're all stacked from largest to smallest being on top, make sure that you pull the straps across it and tighten it down. That way, it's not going to shift inside the board bag. It's going to keep them locked down. Pro tip, if you do not have straps to hold the boards down and keep them locked together, make sure that you layer your snowboard outerwear in between them just to give them a little bit of padding, or you can put your outerwear on the bottom below them if you have a snowboard bag without padding, which if you have a snowboard bag without padding, you probably give 0 fucks and don't have a snowboard bag and actually pack your snowboard bag like Mike Rankwit here. If you hit that level, you're a golden god. And next we get to the bindings. Now, some of you might leave your bindings actually attached to the board on top with the other free floating boards underneath it. Totally fine, that's up to you if you want to do that. Personally, I remove everything. That way it's just easier to get a tighter fit in the pack. Now, one thing to always note when you're packing your snowboard bag is which side the wheels are on. And trust me, you want a snowboard bag with wheels. The reason for that is you can put more weight towards that end, which is going to make it easier to carry. And plus, when you put it on the scale and maybe you're a little bit overweight, you can tip the odds in your favor if you do the backpack trick. What's the backpack trick? Make sure your backpack's standing up past the scale when you put the board bag down so it's underneath it, holding up the weight. That way it always comes in under the 50-pound weight limit when you fly. Trust me, I have done this numerous times. So when it comes to the bindings, if you have them removed, I always try to put it high back facing me, high back facing you, high back facing me, high back facing you. Now I know some of you probably don't roll with 2 full complete setups or 3 like I do. So if you only have 1, your best bet might actually be to just leave the bindings attached to the top board in there. But what we're trying to do is optimize actual packing space here. So this is how I do it, just to actively get more room. Also, make sure that you fold your high back down, put the strap over it. You're trying to take up as little room as possible, so you want to just be able to minimize everything you've got in there. The good thing about having your high backs folded down like this is you create 4 little pockets to shove other things in. One of the things that I think most people fail to do is they just leave their screws sitting in their discs in the binding. Well, if they're not tied down, they're gonna slide around, that can scratch your top sheet. So put them into a plastic Ziploc bag and then just stick them right inside the binding like that. That way they're out of the way, they're locked in, you know where they are. Next up, we have our boots. Now, one of the nice things about boots is you can actually stuff things down inside them. So I like to put my gloves, my goggles, sometimes spare socks, base layers, you know, that are rolled up. But basically, you can just shove them down in there. Now, what you want to do after that is tip the boot on its side so that you now have the sole facing the straps of the bindings you put down. And then you're going to put the other one like this. Basically, you're trying to optimize as much space as possible and get a nice tight fit in there. So by having your boots there, it works. Also, I tend to put the boots a little more towards the nose. They tend to be lighter weight than the bindings, and as I've already said, you want to keep the weight more towards the end of the board bag that has the wheels on it. So you got this little bit of empty space up here at the nose of the bag. What do you put there? Helmet. And what goes inside your helmet? Your beanies, extra accessories, maybe some more goggles, your lock, and you just put that right in there. That way, it's at the nose. You don't have to really worry about it being dropped down on the heavy end when you set it on the curb. So what about that little space down at the tail? That's where your pants come in. You can fold them up, put them right in there. It gives a little added padding in there. Voila, done. That's packed in there. Now, some people's bags are bigger than others, so you might have room for a jacket. You can also fold that up in there, but I assume that if you're going snowboarding, you're probably landing at an airport. If you're flying, that's going to be cold, and you're probably going to wear your jacket because it's actually easier to carry that on and gives you more space to pack other things. So before we close this up, obviously you've got some extra space in your bindings to put things. So what do you put in there? Spare gloves. You can just slide that right in between the high back and the foot pad. Maybe you put your leg bag in there if you're one of those hipsters that still uses one of those. Tools, whatever else you need to do in there, and then you're pretty much packed and ready to go. Flip the cover over, make sure you zip it down. I like to keep the zipper about halfway, so that way if TSA or anyone has to inspect it, they're not just opening one side potentially where they can dump things out. That way if they lay it flat, it's easier for them to just be able to do it. If you're trying to smuggle drugs, you should probably put those in your butt instead of in your board bag. I'm just saying, not from personal experience or something that Randy's done. Just it seems more logical to do it that way. Try not to put things that are fragile and breakable in your board bag. It does get knocked around. This is the one that gets manhandled the worst. Usually the conveyor belt sometimes struggles to get these bags into the plane, so they end up just heaving them right in. I one time watched my board bag get thrown into the side of a plane. That was not fun. All right, did you learn how to pack a board bag? Hopefully you're competent enough to pack your own board bag, but for some reason, some people aren't. If you're one of those people, there's no hope for you. I can't help you. If you're new here, remember to subscribe, click the bell, get those notifications. That way you're not missing any of the videos we got coming out for all you snowboarders of the internet. And if you really want to support us and just see us grow out what we're doing over here, swing on over to Angry Snowboarder VIP. I could tell you more here, but I got a video over there that explains it so much better. As always, I've been your host, Avran LeFeber, and I'll see you in another video.